Fit10 fam, it is day 58, 12 days to go. I'll put up the Calendly link for your scans this week, even though we're still about 2 weeks away. I will put up this week. I'll send out your new numbers tomorrow. And like I said in previous videos, recently, you may get a change tomorrow, you may not, okay? If you haven't got a change in last week, you're probably gonna get a change, okay? If you did get a change last week, you may not get a change this week. All right? Okay, listen, yesterday I failed to mention something really important about salt, and so I just want to mention it. Salt actually is really important for lowering the viscosity of your blood. Now, you might think, well, that's weird, because if there's more salt in your bloodstream, then wouldn't there just be more, wouldn't that make it more viscous, a thicker liquid, right? You're adding solute, you're adding like a solid into the liquid. Wouldn't it just, well, yes, that's true, except that now, because you're doing that, you're actually pulling in more water into the bloodstream. And what that does is it allows the blood to thin somewhat, and because you've got a better circulation of the blood flow now, you've got a thinner blood material, essentially, thinner blood liquid, you're going to get better delivery of nutrients. Okay, it's going to be able blood is going to move around, is going to be able to move around your body more freely, okay? So increased blood volume, essentially. That's what I wanted to say, okay? And that helps with recovery. You'd never think that, right? You would never associate salt with recovery. People normally associate it with, well, forget about all the bad stuff. They, you know, a smart person will, or I should say an educated person in this area will you know, put alongside with endurance and stamina, yes, and feeling energetic and muscle cramping, yes, all that type of thing. Performance is basically what I'm getting at, but they'll never put along with recovery, but it plays a role in recovery. Okay, questions here, comments. This person writes, stay away from alcohol, eat my calories earlier in the day. Okay, yeah, alcohol definitely you want to stay away from. We've been through that through and through, right? Believing in the process. I see body changes like more weight in the areas like love handles, stomach, which makes me believe I'm going in the opposite direction with my increased calorie intake from where I'm trying to go, more definition and bigger. All right, so just FYI, this just for most of you, this person is doing something a little bit different. I made an exception for this person in this challenge. He wanted to do it with his wife, but he had different goals, okay? So this really doesn't apply to you, but still listen, because you'll get a better sense you get a better picture of, you know, all of these topics that I'm about to talk about, okay? Okay, so I just quickly want to say, your calories, if you're gaining fat, which your scan didn't suggest that, by the way, up until your last scan it didn't, then, you know, you're obviously taking in too many calories. Now, I don't know, I haven't looked at your calories right now, so I don't know how much they've gone up, but they certainly didn't go up that much. Okay, so maybe we've tipped it too much. We'll have to see. So that's not a big deal. We can just tip it back down, right? This is why we make small changes, right? As to your more definition and bigger, those two are opposite things. Those two are opposite things. If you want to gain muscle, if you want to gain more size, we need to be pushing the calories more, okay, to a certain point, okay? If you want to see more definition, we need to lose body fat. We need to go into a deficit. So those are two separate things, okay? I'm sure we'll have a conversation about this. How do cutting/bulking plans work? And are these good practices for people trying to get stronger and gain definition? Yeah, I mean, this is essentially cycling your training is always a great thing to do. Now, whether it's with your diet, okay, when I mean training, I mean with your diet or with your training, these are all great things, because the body will adapt, okay? The body will adapt to what you give. If you're always giving it the same thing, you're not giving it any new stimulus, Okay, there's no reason for it over time. Once it adapts to that stimulus, there's no reason for it to change. Okay, so and that goes for food or for your training. So so what is good for people trying to get stronger and gain definition? Okay, so what it sounds to me like is there are separate things that you're trying to work towards that are on various points of the spectrum, okay? So getting stronger is one avenue you can go down. Getting leaner is another avenue you can go down. Gaining muscle hypertrophy is another road you can go down. Now, some of these have some overlap. Hypertrophy or muscle gain and strength have some overlap. Not entirely, but they have some. And, hypertrophy will have some overlap with definition. But really what we need to look at here is when you're looking at this, well, let me give you an analogy, okay? You drive a Camry, okay? Just kind of average car, right? Good car, Toyota Camry. That's what you got. Now you're saying, well, I need a vehicle that I can tow and load stuff into. All right, so now we're going to start looking at trucks. So we start going over to trucks. But you say, but I also want something that's going to be fast and it's going to have high performance and it's going to be really nimble. Okay, well now we've got to get away from the truck. We've got to start going over towards the performance car. So this is what I'm talking about. They may all have overlap in that they are going to get you from point A to point B, but there are specific things about them that you can't get it all in one. You have to pick. So to this person, when we first came to me, your goal was to gain some size, right? Gain some muscle. So there has to be some calorie overload there. Not a lot, because you're just going to get fat, but you need some. And then we need to be doing, in the case of gaining muscle, we need to be doing a hypertrophy type program. Okay, training in that rep range of, in a nutshell, training in that rep range of 8 to 15 reps. Okay, although you could train with more reps than that for hypertrophy. Okay, and you will get some hypertrophy in less reps than that, but generally speaking in that 8 to 15 rep range. Okay, so again, it just depends on which way you're going to go, and this is why maybe you might be familiar with, I'm going to use bodybuilders as an example. They might go through periods where they gain fat, they lose definition, but what they're trying to do is increase their muscle mass. And so they don't want to be in a calorie deficit because your chances of gaining muscle mass are very slim if you're in a calorie deficit, okay? So they'll go through that period, and then after a certain period, they'll reduce their calories and go through a phase where they start to gain more definition, okay? But adding that muscle, even though they're two separate things, adding that muscle will help them to, in the future, get leaner, right? What is a reasonable plan to follow at the end of the 10 weeks? Calories and workouts. It depends on your goals. So we'd have to, for you in particular, we'll have to look at what it is you're trying to do, okay? We may have to tone down your calories somewhat. We may have to change your program. We have to look at that. It just really depends on what, at the end of the 10 weeks, what you've achieved and where you want to go from there. Because where you want to go from there is in your case, I'm speaking specifically to you, this one person, is going to be dependent on, what you've achieved in this challenge and how much farther you want to go. For the average person, this challenge, I'm going to recommend, as I did yesterday, to still keep a hold of your calories. Again, if you're trying to lose more body fat, then you want to be extra diligent with your journaling of your food and your energy output, and you want to make sure that you're always weight training, right? Because that's what's going to that's going to be your long-term investment into helping you stay lean, right? Okay, all right, so that's all I'm going to say on that. I hope I answered your question. Let me know. Let's get to message of the day, and the message of the day is this. You're not going to like it, but you probably won't like it, but I'm going to tell you, it's all your fault. It's all your fault. It is truly all your fault. Okay, listen, what I mean by that is we really have to take responsibility for where we are and what we have, okay? That is the easiest way to solve any disparity between what you want and where you are. Because if you throw your hands up in the air and you just say, it's not my fault, I don't have any control over this, then you have that's it, you're stuck, right? So, but I will tell you that I've always gotten, and actually this is not something that ever came from me. This came from an old coach of mine who said, she actually put this up like 6 months ago on Instagram. She said, weight training, or in her case, she's a bodybuilder. She said, my diet and my training always gave me back what I put in. And that's really what it's about. So if you're not seeing what you want to see, then there has to be a change made. Now, that's not to say that you're not giving it your best effort, but what it means is that what is being set for you at this point in time may not be the best. So for example, maybe you're not eating enough calories, or maybe eating too many calories, or maybe you're not training as hard. You think you're training hard enough, but you're not training hard enough. Maybe you're limited by injuries. We have to let those injuries heal, right? Because you can't train effectively with the injuries. Something like that, okay? All right, so just take self-responsibility. That doesn't necessarily mean, I don't mean that in the sense of, that you're not working hard or that you're not doing enough, but take responsibility in the sense of, okay, what are the changes I can make to make my situation better for myself, right? That's what I want to say. Okay, day 58, 12 days to go. We are out of the teens now. We're getting young, right? 12 days to go, plus a few bonus days, positive energy, positive vibes. Submit, commit, give some gratitude, and believe in yourself. I'll talk to you guys all very soon. See you guys.